Om Shri Gurubhyo Nama. Om Shri Ganapataye Nama. Om Shri Paradevataye Nama. Arunam Karuna Tarangidakshim Dhridapashangusha Pushpa Bana Chapam Animadiviravridam Mayughe Rahamityeva Vibhavaye Bhavani. Namaskaram. This video series gives the sadhana-focused commentary and teachings of Sri Guru Yugananthanatha, also known as Sri Jithesh Ji of Srividya Tantra Peedom, on the names of the goddess Tripura Sundari in lalithasahasranamam. My name is Radhika and I will be presenting it in English. In this video, we will cover the third name, Srimad-Simhasaneshwari. Sada Shiva Priyangari Mulak Pragriti Rupadhrika Amrideshi Maheshani Shringaranga Nivasini Utpatti Sthiti Samhartri Pralayapada Nashini Maha Pralaya Yuktyacha Srishti Samhara Karini. This is a verse from Vishwasara Tantra, praising goddess as the destructive force. Now, let us look at the meaning of Srimad-Simhasaneshwari in Srividya. Many commentators have mentioned that this name corresponds to the samhara or the destructive force of the goddess. To support their view, some commentators suggest that Simha inverted is himsa, as himsa or harm could be related to destruction. Some authors use the term asana instead of asana. While asana would be steady posture or seat, the term asana means throwing or discharging, which can also loosely be related to destruction. Some consider the term Ishwari as shasanakari, or one who scolds. This also is an indirect reference to the destructive force. This would make an upasaka wonder on why the Vak-devatas, that is the goddesses of speech, who are the authors of lalithasahasranamam, would have used this term for the samhara function of the goddess. In the first name, Srimata, Mata, meaning mother, connotes creation. In the second name, Sri Maharatni, Ratni, meaning queen, implies sustenance. If we follow the same logic, then we would use Sri Kala Sankarshanakari or Sri Mahabhairavi or some other term that directly shows destruction. So why do we use Srimat-Simhasaneshwari? The Vak-devatas chose Srimat-Simhasaneshwari as this is the best term to describe the samhara function of goddess Lalitha. To understand why it is the best term, first, the concept of samhara, which can mean destruction or contraction of what is manifested, is to be understood. Consider a bindu or a dot as the point from which manifestation happens. You can imagine the manifested universe as a pyramid with the tip of the pyramid as the bindu, if you want to imagine manifestation as a projection. You could also imagine it as a sphere with the bindu at the center of the sphere if you want to envision projection in all directions. When you look outward from the bindu, it is the manifestation phase of the universe. And when you look from the base of the pyramid or the surface of the sphere inwards towards the bindu, it is the destruction phase of the universe. The surface of the sphere or the base of the pyramid is a combination of dots or individual creations that make up the universe. So, samhara would involve distraction or contraction of one or more vyashti or individual forms, which leads back to the source bindu. So reverse flow or destructive view is called samhara, is the perspective of returning from many foundation individual bindus to the source bindu. Srimad-Simhasaneshwari is made up of three terms: Srimat, Simhasana, and Ishwari. Let us take the first term, Srimat. Srimat has two parts, Shrim and At. Shrim signifies the goddess as complete or Purna, in Samarasya as one with Shiva. At means foundation. The foundation of Shrim, that is Shodashi with 16 kalas, is goddess Bala, the Vyashti or Shakti of individual forms. The collection of the Vyashti makes up the Samashti. The next term is Simhasana. This term has two parts, Simha and Asana. Simha is Sa, Im, and Ha. The significance of Hakara and Sakara in Hamsa has been analyzed at length in various tantric scriptures and the Upanishads. Sakara is the power of existence, and Hakara is the fire that burns it in the process of reverse flow towards the source. For self-realization, the energy current is reversed upwards, urdhvagati, using Hamsa. Scriptures associate this to the sun, moon, Akula, Kula, Prana, Apana, to explain the destructive reverse flow of Prana Kundalini energy to move upwards to merge with Shiva as Para Kundalini. Im is the representation of Kamakala in Srividya. In Sri Chakra, it is the Mahayoni, that is a central triangle, which is the first expression of manifestation from the Bindu. And into this Mahayoni, everything dissolves. Existence, Sa, in its reverse flow, Ha, to the source, Im, is Simha. That is, existence, Sa, viewed in reverse or destructive phase towards the Bindu, is Simha. The same meaning is conveyed in the below verse from Manthana Bhairava Tantra. The verse is, Simhagam viparitena sakara simhasatnyaya. Simha reversed is Sakara and hence called Simha. Existence Sa, viewed from destruction phase, is Simha. Sa plus Im plus Ha. The asana or seat of Simha Vidya is goddess Bhairavi. Associating the goddess in her samhara function with Simha is popular in most Kaula texts that deal with the Tantra of goddess Bhairavi. In addition to the reason for use of the term Simha in Bhairavi Tantric scriptures, which we explained, here are a few quotes to clarify this point further. Edat vai meru prastara pujayet khadigayudam na chatra vismaret kinjit vidya margam samudharet simhavalogane shambho samharena swarupataha. The Meru Prastara is to be worshipped along with its foundation in full. O Shambhu, the Vidya should be applied in Samhara Krama like the lion's gaze. reverse flow inward of samhara like lion's gaze. Edat simhava logena simhavat simhasatnyaya adi pidheshwari khyata mudra tridaya bhedida. The lion vidya arising from lion's gaze or destructive reverse flow has its Adi Pidheshwari called the lion. Kruddha drishtir mahasimha simhasana samashrita atatahasa vadana nrityandi vahni mandale. With a wrathful gaze, the goddess, like a lioness, sits on the lion throne. With a loud laughter, atatahasa, she dances in the mandala of fire. Mantras in Bhairavi scriptures are called lion's roar or Simhanada. The teachings in scriptures are called Simha Darshana. The tradition is called Simha Amnaya. The essence of the Vidya is called Simha Sankeda. The practice is called Simhachara. The next verse summarizes the link between goddess Bhairavi and Srividya Kula tradition. Viparida kulamnaye tatra simhona samshayaha simhagaf pararupena matanad abhichandramaha. The meaning: the lion, without doubt, is present in the Kula tradition of reverse Viparita or Samhara current. Simha, in the process of churning, or when Shakti merges or comes in union with Shiva, is supreme form on moon. The Ishwari or Shakti of Ishvara in Srividya is goddess Tripura Sundari. Sundari is the source. So, Srimat-Simhasaneshwari, the term Srimat plus Simhasana plus Ishwari, in direct word meaning analysis, signifies the individual taking a reverse flow of destruction to reach back to the source. When this translates to Srividya Tantra Krama, it is goddess Bala transforming to various form of Bhairavi in the act of destruction to reach the source, which is Sundari. This exactly correlates to Srimhasana Puja Krama of Srividya, which starts with Bala, who transforms into various forms of Bhairavi and finally becomes Sundari. Unlike Kali Kula, where destruction is viewed as manifestations getting absorbed into darkness, in the case of Sri Kula, destruction is viewed as individual manifestations merging inward to reach the source Parabindu. Thus, the third name, Srimad-Simhasaneshwari, covers the samhara function out of the Panchakritya or 5 functions of Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara, Tirodhana, and Anugraha. My humble obeisance to Goddess Lalita and to the Vagdevatas who authored this Sahasranama, which is complete and perfect like Goddess Lalita. Let there be no doubt that Srimad-Simhasaneshwari is not just an appropriate word, but in fact is the only word that truly conveys the destructive function from the Srividya perspective. The third name, Srimat-Simhasaneshwari, not only conveys the samhara function, it also conveys the inner essence of samhara in Srividya and the secret Tantra Krama with Simhasana Mantras. This role of presiding across Bala, Bhairavi, and Sundari is what differentiates this third name, Srimat-Simhasaneshwari, from the 268th name, Samharini, and the 276th name, Bhairavi. Srimat-Simhasaneshwari is not only Samharini, she presides over the states and the safe transition between the states in the act of destruction. Samhara meaning not complete destruction, but a contraction or state change. In the case of moon phases, from Paurnami to Amavasi, each state of waning is a destruction or contraction. Srimat-Simhasaneshwari presides across every act of contraction, leading up to complete laya on Amavasi. Let us now examine Bhakti Sadhana in Srimat-Simhasaneshwari. Kruddha drishtir mahasimha simhasana samashrita attatahasa vadana nrityandi vahni mandale. With a wrathful gaze, the goddess, like a lioness, sits on the lion throne. With loud laughter, attatahasa, she dances in the mandala of fire. So goddess is lioness, Samhara personified, sitting on the lion throne, Samhara Krama or destruction in action. She does the destructive cosmic dance, the fire mandala that burns everything, enjoying every bit of the act by laughing loudly in ecstasy. A person in the Bhakti path goes through 4 stages in the sadhana of Srimat-Simhasaneshwari. Stage 1 is the appreciation of form. The powerful form generates a lot of attraction, considering the ultimate power the sadhaka can associate with. Stage 2 is fear on seeing the power of destruction. The closer the sadhaka comes to this power, the better understanding he or she has of death, violence, and destruction. Stage 3 is devotion resulting from understanding of totality. That is, the understanding that destruction leads to creation. Stage 4 is acceptance of a balanced state between creation and destruction. Here, the form of the Devata brings the feeling of closeness or oneness. Majority of people in Bhakti path gets stuck in stage 1, as the next stage is not easy to handle. You can see people mentioning that Kali is just being shy and biting her tongue, or saying that they see motherly love in the image of Kali chopping off heads. These are sadhakas in stage 1. They are attracted to the destructive power of nature, but unable to accept the power in its essence, to pass on to the next level of experiential knowledge. The next level of experiential knowledge will invoke fear, and hence they stick to associating to a form which has been modified to give it a feel-good factor without experiencing it. Experience or anubhuti is essential for spiritual progress. Let me give you an example to understand why it is so. When we see a movie, we get immersed in the movie, forgetting our surroundings and the scary figures. And when scary figures are shown in the horror movie, we get scared. When brutal violence is shown in the movie, we experience disgust and fear. The same level of emotion would not be triggered when seeing a static picture, or when associating that picture to something that is different from the actual event with changes in attributes or background. Now, let us consider the example of with goddess. When we see goddess Durga in a dream with two hands, it is a very pleasant experience, quite different from seeing a picture, as the goddess and you are in the same realm of the dream. The moment the goddess brings out her 8 hands with weapons and other accessories, even if she is smiling at you in the dream, the experience is overwhelming. The emotional experience is no longer appreciation, but a mix of respect, fear, devotion, and an overpowering effect. After such a dream, you might even be scared to go to sleep the next day, even when you know it is the smiling Durga with 8 hands. This is experiential association of a sadhaka. Now, think about the experience that the goddess of destruction will invoke in a dream, where she is dancing in the cremation ground, drinking blood, and chopping heads. This is stage 2 of experiencing the energy of destruction. The experience of destruction may not necessarily be in a dream. It could be in terms of losing an object or a person that the sadhaka loves more than his or her life, which teaches the sadhaka that materialistic objects and persons are non-lasting. It could be the sadhaka getting a deadly disease and understanding that the body does not last, and then miraculously recovering. There are many ways the destructive energy of the goddess can bring in spiritual progress in an aspirant. The experience in stage 2 leads way to stage 3 of devotion. The learnings from stage 2 helps the sadhaka understand that nothing materialistic will last. This brings in devotion to the force that can destroy and create. For example, the onset of deadly disease is an act that causes destruction of the body. This is the phase of destruction that invokes fear. The same destructive energy will destroy the disease by killing many microorganisms that causes the infection, leading to recovery. The recovery involves devotion along with many lessons learned. There is a search for purpose and totality, which leads to stage 4 of oneness with Goddess. That is why learning from the samhara shakti of nature is not considered suitable for the majority of people. Not just in tantric worship, but even for daily worship at homes, many acharyas and gurus who have at least experienced a taste of stage 2 will ask people to avoid keeping a picture of samhara shakti forms like Kali and Bhairavi at home. The name Srimad-Simhasaneshwari signifies that she is the master of destruction, guiding the sadhaka in state transition while in darkness. This role has multiple implications. In case of darkness due to ignorance, the role can be compared to a guru guiding the shishya towards self-realization, which involves multiple states that the aspirants need to pass safely. In case of darkness at the time of death, the role can be compared to the rower of a boat who safely takes the passenger to the next shore. The two shores are the manifest states, and the rower guides the person in transitioning from one manifest state to another. In case of darkness, from the cosmic perspective, the role is that of continuous destructor who maintains the cosmic balance. Darkness at death itself has a lot of depth. It does not mean leaving the body. Every day we sleep, and then the Jagrith or waking state is destroyed and recreated when we wake up. Also, while in sleep, many cells in the body are destroyed and many are created. So samhara can be at the conscious or the avastha level, or the body or the sharira level. A Srividya sadhaka needs to approach Srimat-Simhasaneshwari as a shishya would approach his or her guru. All shishyas must surrender to the guru if the expectation is spiritual progress. Only then can the guru destroy the inherent vasanas or latent tendencies of the shishya. The feeling of like, dislike, pure, impure, right or wrong are all destroyed by goddess in teaching the sadhaka that everything is Shiva Shakti Maya. The Srividya sadhaka should understand the essence of the goddess in several contexts, like getting sick and recovering involves acts of destruction. Getting into trouble and coming out of the trouble involves act of destruction. Doing harm and escaping from harm involves act of destruction. To win something, some others will lose. Thus, winning also involves destruction as others lose. The goddess as Srimat-Simhasaneshwari will destroy the enemies of the sadhaka, can protect the sadhaka from harm, can remove the troubles of the sadhaka, and by bringing favorable conditions, also lead to happiness, good health, and prosperity of the sadhaka. So the earlier example of why many suggest not to keep pictures of Kali at home should not be taken in the wrong sense to avoid Srimat-Simhasaneshwari. When a thief comes into the house, then offering sweets to the thief will not help in driving the thief out. A policeman or a person more powerful than the thief who is on your side should drive the thief out. Similarly, when there is an issue to be destroyed, like recovery from disease, removal of negative energies like abhichara, trouble from enemies, etc., then the sadhana of a sattvic devata will not be of much help. The attendant devatas of Srimat-Simhasaneshwari can easily destroy the issue and give relief and protection to the sadhaka. So the sadhaka should have trust in the goddess, and a grihastha-ashrami should surrender to Srimat-Simhasaneshwari for protection and prosperity. Trust in the guide is essential to safely reach a destination. Along with love and respect for the master of destruction who protects, the sadhaka should also have fear towards the goddess who not only rewards but punishes. As explained earlier, Srimat-Simhasaneshwari is best understood only after stage 2 of fear. Puja in reverse order, that is Samhara Krama, is done for self-realization. Tantra Kundalini Sadhana also involves reverse flow of pulling in tattvas when the Kundalini Shakti moves upward to unite with Shiva. Here, Tantra Yoga is also following the Samhara Krama. Srimat-Simhasaneshwari is a quick teacher for an earnest aspirant desiring self-realization. As a guide, the goddess can help the sadhaka to easily overcome a state, even if it is as a guide to remove troubles for materialistic benefits or as a guide to cross the samsara sagara, Srimat-Simhasaneshwari is quick to give results. So, the sadhaka should surrender and seek the protection of Srimat-Simhasaneshwari to get bhakti and mukti. A good Srividya sadhaka will not dare to use Srividya as a tool for harming others. Srimat-Simhasaneshwari helps to use the energy of destruction and teaches how to use the energy of destruction. So the results on the sadhaka will be adverse if the sadhana of Srimat-Simhasaneshwari is not done without proper care and guidance. From the Bhakti sadhana perspective, all feelings like appreciation, fear, trust, and surrender that exists in the relationship between a person seeking to reach an unknown destination and a guide who takes the person through darkness in reaching that destination is covered in the second name of Srimat-Simhasaneshwari. A word of caution based on tantric scriptures. When performing the samhara function, goddess is Mahasimha Simhasana Samashrita, the lioness on the lion throne. It does not matter how tamed or pleased the lioness is, the wrath of the lioness will strike at the slightest act of provocation. So a sadhaka should always approach and handle devatas associated to samhara shakti with extreme caution. Avoid experimentation and follow guidance from an experienced practitioner, as the results, be it positive or negative, will be quick. And there is very little tolerance for mistakes. Jagrith, Swapna, Sushuptinam, Sakshi Bhutyai Namo Namah, Mahapabhaugha Pabanam, Vinashinyai Namo Namah, Dushta Bhidi Mahabhidi Bhanjanayai Namo Namah. Goddess is the witness of all states of consciousness. She destroys all doshas and removes all worries. Now, we will see Jnana Sadhana in Srimat-Simhasaneshwari. A person on the Jnana Yoga path will primarily understand samhara as complete dissolution or pralaya. So what is pralaya? In Brahmanda Purana, in the Lalitha Archana section, Mahashambhu explains to the Devas that there are three types of dissolutions in the world. They are Avantara Pralaya or dissolution, from which Brahma recreates the world, Kama Pralaya, from which goddess Lalitha regenerates the worlds, and Mahapralaya, from which Mahashambhu himself regenerates the worlds. The three pralayas in the context of the story corresponds to the three levels of transformation or dissolution that a spiritual aspirant goes through. The first one is Avantara Pralaya, which corresponds to the Avantara Vakya or introductory definition, where the Guru explains that something existed even before creation. This creates a change in the aspirant, and the aspirant starts to have devotion to this supreme being that existed before creation. The next is Kama Pralaya, which is Diksha or consecration for liberation. When the Guru feels that the sadhaka has reached to a level of experience, to experience the absolute, the Guru, with his or her spiritual power, purifies the sadhaka and initiates the sadhaka into his or her spiritual journey of liberation. The sadhana, advised by the Guru, then removes all desires and sins of the sadhaka, and the sadhaka gets focused on the goal of knowing the absolute. The final pralaya is Mahapralaya, that corresponds to Mahavakya or Mahalaya of realizing the supreme being in ourself. Avantara Pralaya involves dualistic thought, where the divine is a separate entity. Kama Pralaya is qualified non-dualism or attributive monism of seeing ourselves as a part of the supreme, but subordinate to the supreme. Sadhana practices are geared to identify the true self. Mahapralaya is non-dualism of seeing the absolute and ourself as one. This transformation does not have to be a staged progression. Based on the intensity of pralaya, any one of the pralaya in itself can lead a person to the supreme with the right guidance and practice. The Avantara Pralaya involves acquiring knowledge, and hence the Devata for this dissolution is Brahma. Kama Pralaya involves focus on practice as advised by the Guru, and the Devata for this dissolution is goddess Lalitha. Mahapralaya is a realization of the absolute without effort as knowledge or practice, and the Devata for this is Mahashambhu himself. Pralaya, from a cosmic sense, is explained in several Puranas and Tantric scriptures. It involves dissolution of a tattva into the source tattva from which it manifested. For example, in Ahirbudnya Samhita, in the section on Pragrida Pralaya Varnanam, it is mentioned, Prithivya Apsulayaha Apam Tejasi Layaha Tejaso Vayo Layaha Vayor Agashe Layaha. So Prithvi dissolves into water, water into Agni, Agni into Vayu, Vayu into Akasha. Similarly, the reverse process of manifestation is explained in the context of cosmic pralaya. When the sadhaka achieves more maturity, there is clarity that samhara is not just dissolution, but rather contraction or change in state. It is a state transition that takes the sadhaka inwards and closer to the supreme consciousness. This leads to the question on what are the layers on which samhara operates. The operating layers can be viewed from 4 perspectives based on vyashti, which is the microcosm or individual, and the samashti, which is a macrocosm or the cosmic all-encompassing, and its association with rupa or form and avastha or state. The 4 perspectives are vyashti rupa, vyashti avastha, samashti rupa, samashti avastha. Vyashti rupa has 3 layers beyond which there is no form. They are Vishwa, the individual sthula or gross form, Taijasa, the individual sukshma or subtle form, and Pratnya, the individual karana or causal form. Jivatma is within these 3 layers. A Panchakosha classification is another view which considers the Atma or individual consciousness as residing within the 5 coverings of Amnaya Kosha, Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. The Vyashti avasthas are 5. Sthula Atma, which is awareness or consciousness of a waker experiencing the external world. Sukshma Atma, which is the dreamer experiencing the dream world. Karanatma, which is the sleeper experiencing the potential world. Jivatma as Sakshi, which is the individual consciousness as witness, connecting the three avasthas of waker, dreamer, and sleeper. Jivatma as one with Paramatma, where there is no distinction between the individual and universal consciousness. Samashti Rupa has three layers beyond which there is no form. They are Virat, which is total Sthula, or the collection of all gross forms, Hiranyagarbha, which is total Sukshma, or the collection of all subtle forms, and Ishwara, which is total Karana, or the collection of all causal forms. Samashti avasthas are five. Jagrith, that is the total waking state. Swapna, the total dreaming state. Sushupti, the total deep sleep state. Thuriya, the total individual consciousness. Turiyatida, the total universal consciousness. Jiva goes through the avasthas of Jagrith, Swapna, Sushupti, Thuriya, and Turiyatida. Individual awareness in Jagrith avastha is Sthula Atma. Similarly, individual awareness in Swapna avastha is Sukshma Atma. So, Vyashti, that is the microcosm, is not different from Samashti or the macrocosm. Both are connected in the avasthas. The states, that is avasthas, have a direct relation with forms or rupa. In the waking state, the gross form is prominent, manifesting the gross world. In the dreaming state, the subtle form is prominent, manifesting the dream world. And in deep sleep, the causal form is prominent, with the world in potential form. Consciousness or existence pervades the forms and is experienced in different states. So avasthas and rupa are connected. Combining these, we can now say that the waker associating to the physical body and viewing the physical world is Vishwa. The dreamer associating to the subtle body and viewing the dream world is Taijasa. And the sleeper associating to the causal body and associating to the world in the potential form is Pratnya. From an individual perspective, Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara, Melana, Rupa, Iyama, Turiya. That is, the Thuriya avastha ensures continuity or is like the string that holds together the other avasthas and rupas at the individual level. There is one more term, para, which is beyond avastha and rupa. Being unmanifest, it goes beyond vyashti and samashti, rupas and avasthas. In samhara, the rupas and avasthas move inward. So gross moves into subtle, subtle into causal. This is the case at individual and cosmic level. For self-realization, which is a form of samhara and pralaya, the awareness has to move inwards towards Thuriya and Turiyatida. This is just a basic introduction to the concept. There are several Upanishads, tantric works, and commentaries by acharyas which have analyzed these in much depth. Also, some of these topics will be explained in detail as part of names Vishwarupa, Jagarini, Swapandi, Taijasatmika, Supta, Pratnyatmika, Turiya, Sarvavastha, Vivarjita in lalithasahasranamam. When the sadhaka reaches a level where the Jnana yogi seeks experiential knowledge of the self, the final question comes up on what are the experiential states on which samhara operates. So the question is more on experience. The spiritual seeker doing practice as a shishya or an accomplished guide who also practices as a guru will pass through 25 combination states in Srividya Tantra practice. There are specific Devata and Tantric practices for each of these 25 states. These are combinations of the 5 avasthas: Jagrith, Swapna, Sushupti, Thuriya, and Thuriyatida. This corresponds to the Pancha Simhasana of the goddess, with each Simhasana having 5 parts, which are represented as 4 legs and a plank. So 5 Simhasana with 5 parts, resulting in 25 avasthas and associated devatas. In Jnanarnava Tantra, Devi asks Ishwara to give details of Pancha Simhasana with the verse: Pancha Simhasana Gada Katam Sa Tripura Para Katayaswa Maheshana Katam Simhasanam Bhaved. While a guru would need to be still engaged in worldly activities, there are some sadhakas who completely dwell in Ananda due to being always connected with the goddess. They are called Jevan Muktas, whose actions might appear crazy because they are not interested in food, shelter, or in imparting knowledge. They are always connected to Para and pass through the 5 primary states, always as combination with Para. So Jevan Mukta Srividya Sadhaka introduces 5 more combination states. But since it is linked to Para, there are no Devata forms defined for these 5 combination states with Para. Incorporating this invisible or Anuttara 6th Simhasana, Para Tantram uses the term Shad Simhasana. Shad Simhasana Simhasanaga Prokta Devya Shannayiga Smrada Shadamnaya Vibhinnaiva Ega Saparama Katam. Para Tantram, Jnanarnava Tantra, and Srividyarnava Tantra mention that each of the Simhasana is presided over by an Amnaya Devata. This verse from Para Tantram mentions the association of the 6 Simhasanas with the 6 Amnaya Devatas. The verse is Shad Simhasana Simhasanaga Devi Nayiga Shat Prakirtidaha Shat Simhasana Samsthasa Shadamnayedi Kirtida. Amnaya Devata or Nayika of a Simhasana corresponds to the Devata for a group, there being 6 groups. The groups are Jagrith, Swapna, Sushupti, Thuriya, Thuriyatida, and Para. Each group has 5 combination states from Jagrith, Swapna, Sushupti, Thuriya, and Thuriyatida, like Jagrith Jagrith, Jagrith Swapna, Jagrith Sushupti, Jagrith Thuriya, and Jagrith Thuriyatida, being the 5 combination states under the Jagrith group. Jnanarnava Tantra and Srividyarnava Tantra, while outlining the details of Kriya Sadhana, limit themselves to the 5 Simhasana and associated Amnaya Devatas in Simhasana Vidya, as the 6th Simhasana is without form and state transition happens naturally for a Jevan Mukta. Now, let us examine the 25 states of a practitioner and the additional 5 states of a Jevan Mukta in Srividya. The first group is Jagrith, and it has 5 combination states. The first being Jagrith Jagrith. In this state, the senses are alert. Objective experience of the world happens in this state. It is different from the Jagrith avastha of a non-practitioner of spiritual sadhana. A person who is not into sadhana is said to be asleep from the perspective of awareness. They are busy doing daily routines of eating, working, and sleeping without any true awareness. For example, consider the act of eating food. They do not focus their awareness on the taste of the food they eat, They do not experience the difference from touch of various food items or the difference in the smell from various ingredients. They engage in the act without being focused. Their awareness of self and objective world is not focused for experience. The Guru has to awaken the Shishya to true spiritual practice for the Shishya to understand the difference. Tirumandiram scripture compares this switch of awareness from inactive to active state when a Shishya becomes a sadhaka to a teacher waking up a sleeping student with a stick. The stick being the tantric practice used by the Guru to awaken the awareness in a Shishya. The next combination state in the Jagrith group is Jagrith Swapna. The senses are discarded in this state, and the mind plays the active role in giving experiential knowledge. Though the objective world is not present, the sensual experiences are still offered. The same smell of a flower is recreated by the mind with focused thought on that flower. The same joy of being in a place is experienced with the mind in that place, giving vivid experience as given by senses in the objective world. Needless to mention, this Jagrith Swapna is different from the dream state or the Swapna Avastha of a non-practitioner. In the dream Swapna state of a non-practitioner, the component of active focus and control associated with Jagrith Swapna is absent. The third combination group is Jagrith Sushupti. In this state, the awareness is managed by prana and chitta. The mind is also not active, and as a result, the experience, though focused, is not presented by the mind. These correspond to the yogic trance state of one-pointed focus. Jagrith Thuriya. This is the state where one-pointed focus transitions to witness experience. The focused, and focuser, that is the object, subject, and act of focus becomes one. In this state, only the subject is known. Jagrith Turiyatida. In this state, I, as the witness, is also absent. This is the samadhi state, where the sadhaka experiences oneness with the universe. From the awareness perspective, there is no perception about time, and the sadhaka can only explain this state as ananda, as the subject is also absent to give an experience. This is the I individual consciousness experiencing oneness with the that universal consciousness, where the I is dominant. We will now examine the Swapna group and its categories. It is easier to explain the 5 subcategories of Jagrith, as everyone would have had at least some moments in life with some awareness operating on a combination state, or they can imagine what it could be due to the active control everyone naturally has in the Jagrith waking state. Though the senses are not in use, the mind is still in operation in the Swapna state. So the 5 subcategories in Swapna can also be understood with experience in that state as base. The first category is Swapna Jagrith. Lucid dreaming or Swapna Jagrith is knowing that you're dreaming without transitioning to another state. The experiential difference of the Jagrith world versus the Swapna world is not present, and the dream experience is as vivid as Jagrith. Swapna state. This state involves seeing the dream and forgetting it. It is clear on experience, but not on remembering on state transition. Swapna Sushupti. This state involves not seeing visual imagery of the dream when in that particular state, though it does happen. However, some events and ideas from the dream is remembered, or the imagery in parts is remembered in another state to know that it happened. Swapna Thuriya. In this state, the imagery or seeing and the feeling that the dream occurred is absent. Swapna Turiyatida. This is the individual I consciousness experiencing oneness with the universal that consciousness, where the that is dominant. The third group is Sushupti or deep sleep. In Sushupti, the mind is not operational. So the 5 subcategories in Sushupti can be understood from what is felt after transition to the Jagrith state. The first category is Sushupti Jagrith. When a sadhaka emerges from this state, there is experiential knowledge that he or she came from somewhere or some state, but does not know the where. Sushupti Swapna. When emerging from the state, the transition from the previous state is known to the sadhaka as a feeling only at the time of state transition. So the experience of being in this state would feel like a moment, while it might have actually happened for an extended duration. Sushupti Sushupti. In this state, the objective consciousness of one-pointed focus is overcome by subjective awareness as witness. So when transitioning from this state, there is ananda or joy experience in the new state without knowledge of how it occurred. Sushupti Thuriya. This state is like a shunya. It is the void that cannot be described. Being in this state can only be identified by checking a clock. As for the sadhaka, it is a void or not existing or without any experience. So moving into it and returning from it is not known. Sushupti Turiyatida. This is the I individual consciousness experiencing oneness with that universal consciousness, where both I and that are equally dominant. The fourth group is the Thuriya state. Thuriya can only be defined conceptually, as there is only individual consciousness. The categories are Thuriya Jagrith, where there is objective experiential knowledge of self called idam. Thuriya Swapna, where there is subjective experiential knowledge of self called aham. Thuriya Sushupti, where there is experiential knowledge of individual self as universal consciousness called jnana, or experiential knowledge of vyoma. Thuriya Thuriya, where there is experiential knowledge of self as param, which includes consciousness pervading unmanifested as well. Thuriya Turiyatida, this is the individual I consciousness experiencing oneness with that universal consciousness, where I and that cannot be differentiated, as one is merging with the other. The fifth group is Turiyatida, which means beyond the fourth. Turiyatida also can only be defined conceptually, as the individual consciousness as witness is also absent. There is only jnana or knowledge, which makes the individual consciousness aware of its universal nature. The categories here are Turiyatida Jagrith. Here, knowledge has awareness of itself. That is, the knowledge of universal consciousness is known to the witness or individual consciousness. Turiyatida Swapna. Here, knowledge or jnana does not have awareness of itself. Turiyatida Sushupti. Here, Jnana has awareness of itself, but it is not known to the individual consciousness. Thuriya Turiya. Knowledge or Jnana is not present to differentiate the knower individual consciousness and the known universal consciousness. Thuriya Turiya. There is no I individual consciousness and that universal consciousness in the state. It is a state of fullness as pure consciousness. The final group is Para, or the ultimate or supreme state. The states in this group are of a Jevan Mukta who is always connected to the Supreme. The states are Para Jagrith, the Jevan Mukta state where the association with the Jagrith world is no longer present. The person or the Jevan Mukta might appear as a lunatic, walking around smiling and laughing at even the most gruesome events, as the Jevan Mukta is in Ananda or bliss associated with the Supreme and dissociated from the external world. Para Swapna, the Jevan Mukta state where the association with the Swapna world is no longer present. Even in dream, the person might smile and laugh even at the most gruesome events occurring in the dream, as the Jevan Mukta is in Ananda, associated with Supreme and disassociated from the dream world. The next category is Para Sushupti, the state where only the rhythm of Omkara is felt. The person is in a continuous trance. Differentiation between the states is lost due to continuous trance in Omkara. Para Thuriya, the Jevan Mukta state where the consciousness is one with the Supreme. There is no longer any regard for the body and mind which holds the individual consciousness. So the person does not eat, drink, walk, or perform actions unless someone forcefully feeds and supports them to act. Para Turiyatida. This is the supreme state as Para. The body starts shutting down and the Jevan Mukta sheds the body in this state. The Para states are not associated to a Devata with Rupa. This is quite evident as in Para, the intent to perform a specific sadhana is no longer present. So the Devata Rupa is limited to the 25 states of a practitioner. Energy forms as sound or vak and light, jyoti, are explained in tantric scriptures associated to Para, like pranava in Para Sushupti that we mentioned as only experiencing Omkara. Understanding Samhara in its essence as the transition of states to move inwards towards Turiyatida, and finally Para is what is involved in Jnana Sadhana as well. However, in Jnana Sadhana, the Pralaya, Avantara Pralaya, Kama Pralaya, Maha Pralaya, or a combination, happens as a result of Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. This hearing, contemplating, and meditating gives experiential samhara of inward withdrawal and state transitions. It should be understood that these states are not just conceptual terms in Srividya Tantra. Each state has a specific devata, mantras, and paddhati to transition to it. Tantric scripture even details out the dominant energy currents, active tattvas, and chakra points where awareness gets focused for these states. Let us now look at the Kriya Sadhana in Srimad-Simhasaneshwari. The term Srimad-Simhasaneshwari has so much depth that a dedicated book would be required to explain it. Only the key terms are covered in this talk to ensure that this commentary gives a basic understanding without making it too lengthy. The combination states are explained in several tantric works like Sri Madruga Chakra Viveka, Shiva Sutra, and Tirumandiram, to name a few. The devatas associated to the combination states, their dhyana, puja, mantra, and other details are discussed as part of Simhasana Mantras in Jnanarnava Tantra and Srividyarnava Tantra. The devatas are separately discussed in scriptures like Kalika Puranam, Sri Tantrabhidanam, and several Srividya scriptures quoting about these devatas with reference verses from Bhairavi Tantra. Detailed coverage of each devata, the combination state represented by each devata, how it maps to dhyana and mantra of devata, and in-depth analysis of each devata in Simhasana Mantras is outside the scope of this commentary. Srimat-Simhasaneshwari is the Ishwari of Simhasana Vidya. She has 25 devatas in groups of 5, with a Nayika for each group. This is a total of 30 mantras, which is the Vidya of Srimat-Simhasaneshwari. In Kriya Sadhana of Srimat-Simhasaneshwari, we will cover Simhasana Archana, which includes the 25 Simhasana mantras of Pancha Simhasana, along with the Ishwari, Devata, Nayika mantras of each of the 5 Simhasanas. As mentioned in Jnana Sadhana, the combination states with para are without form, and hence Archana mantras are limited to the Pancha Simhasana. We will focus on the mantras for Archana of Srimat-Simhasaneshwari from Bala to Sundari. The first Simhasana is Purva Simhasana. Sampat Prada Bhairavi Cha Tadash Chaitanya Bhairavi Chaitanya Bhairavi Chanya Dvitiya Sarva Siddhida Kameshwari Bhairavi Cha Baladya Panja Devataha Purva Simhasanastascha Smartavya Sarva Siddhaye. The devatas in Purva Simhasana are Bala, Sampat Pradha, Bhairavi, Chaitanya Bhairavi, Dvidiya Chaitanya Bhairavi, and Kameshwari Bhairavi. The second Simhasana, Dakshina Simhasana. Aghora Bhairavi Chaiva, Maha Bhairavyata Param, Lalita Bhairavi Chaiva, Kameshi Bhairavi Tata, Rakta Netra Bhairavi Cha, Daksha Simhasane Sthitaha. The devatas in Dakshina Simhasana are Aghora Bhairavi, Maha Bhairavi, Lalita Bhairavi, Kameshi Bhairavi, and Rakta Netra Bhairavi. The third Simhasana, Paschima Simhasana. Shatkuda Bhairavi Chaiva, Tado Vai Nitya Bhairavi, Mrida Sanjeevani Chaiva, Mrityunjaya Paratada, Vajra Prastarini Chaiva, Pratyat Simhasane Sthidaha. The devatas in Paschima Simhasana are Shatkuda Bhairavi, Nitya Bhairavi, Mrida Sanjeevani, Mrityunjaya Para, and Vajra Prastarini. Fourth Simhasana, the Uttara Simhasana. Bhuvaneshi Bhairavi Cha, Kamaleshi Cha Bhairavi, Kauleshi Bhairavi Cheva, Tato Damara Bhairavi, Kamini Bhairavi Cheva, Saumya Simhasane Sthidaha. The devatas in Uttara Simhasana are Bhuvaneshi Bhairavi, Kamaleshi Bhairavi, Kauleshi Bhairavi, Damara Bhairavi, and Kamini Bhairavi. The fifth Simhasana, the Urdhva Simhasana. Prathama Sundari Chaiva, Dvitiya Sundari Tata, Tritiya Sundari Chaiva, Chadurthi Sundari Tata, Panjami Sundari Chaiva, Urdhva Simhasana Sthidah. The devatas in Urdhva Amnaya Simhasana are Prathama Sundari, Dvitiya Sundari, Tritiya Sundari, Chaturthi Sundari, and Panchami Sundari. The Nayikas of the Simhasana are Goddess Unmani for Purva Amnaya Simhasana, Goddess Bhogini for Dakshinamnaya Simhasana, Goddess Kupchika for Paschimamnaya Simhasana, Goddess Kalika for Uttaramnaya Simhasana, and Goddess Para Prasadamba for Urdhvamnaya Simhasana. Srimat-Simhasaneshwari is to be meditated upon as a goddess with 5 heads, 4 in each direction and 1 above. The 5 heads correspond to the 5 Nayikas: Unmani, Bhogini, Kubjika, Kalika, Para Prasadamba. The goddess has several hands holding the accessories of these 5 Simhasana Nayikas. She is sitting on a lion. The 4 legs and the back of the lion on which the goddess sits is adorned with the 25 Devatas. 4 in each direction and 1 in the center for each of the 4 legs and the back. The Archana Mantras or Vidya of Srimat-Simhasaneshwari can be used while worshipping her separately or as part of Sri Chakra Puja. None of the Devata names or the mantra gets repeated, as each of the 25 Devatas correspond to a different combination state: Jagrith, 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 Swapna, etc. And the Nayika of a Simhasana group corresponds to the Kevala or the base state, that is Jagrith, Swapna, etc. So, excluding para combination states without form, there are 25 combination states with 25 Devatas mantras Vidya and 5 base states with 5 Nayika Devatas mantras Vidya. Each Vidya has a dhyana, prayoga and puja paddhati. These Devatas also have different names by which they are addressed, like Tripura Bhairavi instead of Sampat Prada Bhairavi, Rudra Bhairavi instead of Aghora Bhairavi, etc. in some scriptures. Considering the limited scope of this commentary, we will just identify the mantras that make up Srimat-Simhasaneshwari Archana. The first Devata in Purva Simhasana Vidya is Bala. Surya Swaram Samucharya Bindu Nada Kalatmagam Swarandam Prithvi Sthamtu Thuriya Swara Samanvidam Bindu Nada Kalakrandam Sargavan Bhruguravyyaha Chakra Swara Samopedu Vidyayam Trakshari Mada. The mantra codified in this verse is Aim Klim Sauhu. Purva Simhasana Vidya. The second Devata is Sampat Prada Bhairavi. Shiva Chandrau Vahni Samsthau Vagbhavam Tad Anantaram Kamarajam Tatha Devi Shiva Chandranvidam Tata Prithvi Bijanda Vahnyadhyam Tartiyam Shrunu Sundari Shakti Bije Maheshani Shiva Vahni Niyojayet Kumaryas Tripureshani Hitva Sargam Tubaindavam. The mantra codified in this verse is Hasraim, Haskalrim, Hasrauhu. The third Devata in Purva Simhasana Vidya is Chaitanya Bhairavi. Vagbhavam Bija Mucharyam Jiva Prana Samanvitam Sakala Bhuvaneshanim Dvidiyam Bija Mudridam Jiva Pranam Vahni Samstha Shakra Swara Vibhushidam Visargadhyam Mahadevi Vidya Trailogya Madriga Trailogya Mohini Devi Para Brahma Chidatmiga. The mantra codified in this verse is Shaim Sakalahrim Shrauhu. The fourth Devata of Purva Simhasana Vidya is Dvitiya Chaitanya Bhairavi. Edasya eva vidyaya bija dvaya mudahridam tadante parameshani nitya klinne madadrave. The verse says that adding nitya klinne madadrave before shrau in Chaitanya Bhairavi mantra gives the mantra of Ditiya Chaitanya Bhairavi. The mantra therefore becomes Ishaim Sakala Hrim Nitya Klinne Madadrave Shrauhu. The fifth devata of Purva Simhasana Vidya is Kameshwari Bhairavi. Shiva Chandrau Madanandam Pandam Vahni Samanvitam Shakti Bhinnam Bindu Nada Kaladhyam Vakbhavam Priye Sampat Pradaya Bhairavya Kamarajam Tathaivahi Sada Shivasya Bijam Tu Mahasimhasanasya Cha. The mantra codified in this verse is Hasaka Prem Hasa Kalarim Hasaum. Next we go on to the Dakshina Simhasana Vidya. The first devata is Aghora Bhairavi. Aghori Vakbhavam Paschad Ghore tu Bhuvaneshwari Sarvada Sharva Sarvebhyo Ghora Ghora Tareramam Namastestu Rudra Rupebhyo Devya Bija Yugam Likhet Trimshat Bhishcha Tribhir Varner Vidyayam Katita Priye. The mantra codified in this verse is Aghore Aim Ghore Hrim Sarvada Sharva Sarvebhyo Ghora Ghora Tare Shrim Namastestu Rudra Rupebhya Klim Sauhu. The second devata in Dakshina Simhasana Vidya is Mahabhairavi. Shiva Chandrau Vahni Samsthau Vagbhavena Samanvitau Nada Bindu Susamyuktam Prathamam Bija Mudridam Lopaya Vagbhavam Kudam Dvitiyam Bija Mudridam Shiva Chandrau Vahni Samsthau Manuswara Samanvitau Tridiyam Bijamakhadam Bindu Nada Kalanvitam. The mantra codified in this verse is Hasraim Hasa Kala Hrim Hasraum. The third devata, Lalitha Bhairavi. Maya Bijam Samudritya Kamarajam Tatodharet Preda Bijam Samudritya Vidyayam Trakshari Bhavet. The mantra codified in this verse is Hrim Klim Hasraum. The fourth devata of Dakshina Simhasana Vidya is Kameshi Bhairavi. Kameshi Bhairavi Syat Kamarajena Sundari. The mantra of Kameshi Bhairavi is just the bija Klim. The fifth devata of Dakshina Simhasana Vidya is Rakta Netra Bhairavi. Chandra Vagbhava Samyuktam Bijam Prathama Miridam Sagala Vahni Mayabhyam Dvitiyam Bija Miridam Balayashchaiva Tartiyam Tridiyam Bija Mudridam. The mantra codified in this verse is Saim Sakala Reem Sauhu. Now we come to the Paschima Simhasana Vidya. The first devata is Shatkuda Bhairavi. Dakini Rakini Bije Lakini Kakini Yugat Bije Ahritya Deveshi Yojaye Chandra Suryayo Adyam Ekara Samyuktam Anyat Ekara Mandhidam Shakra Swara Samayuktam Tartiyam Bijamalikhet Bindu Nada Kalakrandam Tridiyam Shaila Sambhave. The mantra codified in this verse is Dara Laka Sahaim Daralakasahim, Daralakasahauhu. The second devata is Nitya Bhairavi. Shatkuda Bhairavi Devi Prati Lomataya Bhavet Nitya Cha Bhairavi Prokta Chatur Varga Phalaprada. The verse suggests to do a pratiloma, that is a reversal of the Shatkuda Vidya to get the Nitya Vidya. So the Nitya mantra is Hasa Kala Ra Daim, Hasa Kala Ra Deem, Hasa Kala Ra Dauhu. This is the same mantra as Nitya goddess in Titi Nitya. This goddess is also popularly known as Dwadashardha and Mata. So Nitya Bhairavi is the same goddess Nitya in Samhara Krama. Similarly, goddess Bala is also called Bala Bhairavi in some scriptures when associated with Samhara Krama. Now we come to the third devata of Paschima Simhasana Vidya, who is Mrida Sanjeevani. Shakti Bijam Samalikhya Shiva Chandrau Samalikhet Anuswara Visargabhyam Mandidau Kramadah Priye Sanjeevani Cha Jum Jeevam Prana Grandhistamalikhet Kuru Shabdastrisha Sau Vahni Jayan Vito Manu. The mantra codified in this verse is Hreem Hamsah Sanjeevani Jum Hamsah Kuru 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 Sauhu Sauhu Swaha. The fourth Vidya of Paschima Simhasana Vidya, the fourth Devata of Paschima Simhasana Vidya is Mrida Mrityunjaya Para. Vada Dvandam Vadaniti Vang Madhye Nikshipet Priye Hasrangam Vagbhavam Devi Klinne Kledini Chalikhet Mahakshobam Kurudvandvam Shiva Chandra Kalanalam Vamakshi Bindu Nadangam Tara Bijam Tadovadet Moksham Kuruyugam Hamsram Shakra Swara Visargavat. The mantra codified in this verse is Vada Vada Vagwadini Hasrain Klinne Kledini Mahakshobam Kuru Kuru Hasrin Om Moksham Kuru Kuru Hasrauhu. The fifth Devata of Paschima Simhasana Vidya is Vajra Prastarini. Param Klinne Vagbhavam Cha Tat Kromat Magamaksharam Tado Nitya Madaprande Drave Maya Cha Samlikhet. The mantra codified in this verse is Hreem Klinne Aim Krom Nitya Madadrave Hreem. Now we come to the Uttara Simhasana Vidya. The first Devata is Bhuvaneshwari Bhairavi. Hamsadhyam Vagbhavam Chadyam Hasakande Sureshwari Bhubijam Bhuvaneshani Dvitiyam Bija Mudridam Shiva Chandrau Maheshani Shakra Swara Vibhushidam Bindu Nada Kalakrandam Tridiyam Bija Mudridam Esha Vidya Maheshani Bhuvaneshwara Bhairavi. The mantra codified in this verse is Hasaim Hasa Kala Hreem Hasaum. Uttara Simhasana Vidya, the second Devata is Kamaleshi Bhairavi. Bhuvaneshi Chandradya Kamaleshi Tatha Bhavet. This mantra suggests to reverse the position of Sa and Ha in Bhuvaneshwari mantra to get Kamaleshi mantra. The mantra of Kamaleshi Bhairavi then is Sahaim Saha Kala Hreem Sahaum. The third Devata of Uttara Simhasana Vidya is Kauleshi Bhairavi. Hasaradya Bhairavi Sa Trishu Bijeshu Parvati Iyam Tu Hasaradya Syat Puja Dhyana Digam Tata. The mantra codified in this verse is Hasraim Hasrim, Hasrauhu. The fourth Devata is Damara Bhairavi. Purvokta Bhairavi Devya Kama Kude Param Shivam Hitvo Charet Tada Vidyam Maha Simhasaneshwarim. The mantra codified in this verse is Hasaim, Haklim, Hasauhu. The fifth Devata of Uttara Simhasana Vidya is Kamini Bhairavi. Sampat Pradaya Bhairavya Vahnim Tyaktva Samudharet Kamini Bhairavi Cheyam Bhaya Vidvamsini Vicha. The mantra codified in this verse for Kamini Bhairavi, suggesting modification of Sampat Prada Bhairavi mantra, is Hasaim, Hasa Klim, Hasaum. Now is the Urdhva Simhasana Vidya. The first Devata is Prathama Sundari. Vagbhavam Shiva Samyuktam Vagbhave Madhyamam Shrunu Hakalande Maheshani Shiva Bijam Tu Samlikhet Refa Vamakshi Bindu Bindu Ghadidam Tu Tridiyagam Hasanugraha Sargadhyam Vidyaiga Sundari Priye. The mantra codified in this verse is Haim Hak Hakala Hrim Hasauhu. The second Devata is Dvitiya Sundari. Aha Sadhyer Japen Mandri Ravi Thuriya Manuswarehi Andyam Sasarga Madhyehi Bindu Nada Kalatmige. The mantra codified in this verse is Aha Saim, Aha Sim, Aha Sauhu. The third Devata of Urdhva Simhasana Vidya is Tritiya Sundari. Kevalam Vagbhavam Devi Vagbhave Madhyamam Shrunu Hasa Hasa Hasramscha Vagbhavena Chayojayet Hatrayam Kala Hrilekham Shakti Kudam Shrunu Priye Chadushkam Shiva Bijanam Rebho Nugraha Sargavan. The mantra codified in this verse is Aim Hasa Hasa Hasraim Ha 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 Ka La Hrim Ha 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 Rauhu. The fourth Devata is Chaturtha Sundari. Kalande Shiva Yukmam Tu Tata Jiva Trayam Shive Paraya Pindhidam Kuryat Kuda Medat Tridherayet Vagbhave Kamarajecha Shakti Bijecha Samlikhet Chadurthi Sundari Khyata Bhoga Moksha Pradayini. The mantra codified in this verse is Ka La Ha Ha Sa 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 Hraim Hrim Ka La Ha Ha Sa 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 Hrim Hrim Ka La Ha Ha Sa 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 Hrauhu Hrim. The fifth Devata is Panchama Sundari. Jiva Shiva Yugam Jiva Kshama Kshakara Shivendumat Edadadyam Chamadhyam Cha Hasa Yuk Ksha Shma Hendumat Andyam Tu Hasala Kshendu He Hendwa Gasha Vibhushidam Tripureshi Manoresha Panjami Sundari Bhavet. The mantra codified in this verse is Sa Ha Ha Sa La Ksha Ha Saim Ha Sa Ha Sa La Ksha Ha Sim Ha Sa La Ksha Sa Ha Sa Hauhu. Next, we will cover the Simhasana Nayikas. Purva Amnaya Simhasana Nayika is Unmani. Hasrimatmaga Mucharya Sahrimatmaga Madrije Shakti Sagala Hrimande Chatur Bija Mudahridam Shri Bijam Kurutartiyam Nitya Vedakshari Bhavet Unmani Nama Vidyeyam Bhoga Moksha Palaprada. The Devata mantra codified in this verse is Hasrim, Shrim, Shringala Hrim. Dakshinamnaya Simhasana Nayika is Bhogini. Vagbhavam Bija Mucharya Klinne Kamasya Bijagam Madadrave Kule Hasrau Vidyeyam Bhogini Priye. The Devata mantra codified in this verse is Aim Klinne Klim Madadrave Kule Hauhu. Pashyamnaya Simhasana Nayika is Kubjika. Vagbhavam cha parashrishcha hasaka prom idi priye hasrau bhastasto devi panjayite pranavasmrdaha bhagavatyamba alikhya pratak pada matheshwari chadurtam pranavam chaiva hasaka prom idi priye kubjige chaiva hasramcha hasrim hasrau tadaf param Aghore chaiva ghore cha twaghora mukhi cha likhet hasram hasrim kini dvandva viche dva trimshadakshari purvoktei pranavair devi sampudi kritya samsmaret. The Devata mantra codified in this verse is Aim Hrim Shrim Hasaka Prem Hasauhu Om Namo Bhagavati Hasaka Prem Kubjiga Hasram Hasrum Aghore Ghore Aghora Mukhi Chram Shrim Kini Kini Viche Hasau Hasaka Prem Shrim Hrim Aim. The Uttara Simhasana Nayika is Kalika. Kha Prem Atmaga Mucharya Maha Chanda Padam Likhet Yogeshwari Padam Paschad Vidyeyam Kalika Priye. The Devata mantra codified in this verse is Kha Prem Maha Chanda Yogeshwari. Urdhva Simhasana Nayika is Para Prasadamba. Athordhamnaya Krama Tada Para Prasada Shau Mantra. The Devata mantra is Shauhu. We have got all the mantras for Kriya Sadhana of Srimad-Simhasaneshwari. Next, we will see how it is used as a sequence. The Pramana for Archana of Srimad-Simhasaneshwari from Bala to Sundari in Srividya Tantra is as Bala Sampat Prada cha Chaitanya Tad Anantaram Vidiya Chaitanya Rupa Kameshi Tadanantaram Unmani Chayajet Dedaf Purvasyam Chadishikramat Simhasanam Cha Brahmakyam Yajecha Tadanantaram Aghora Bhairavi Chaiva Bhairavi Cha Mahadika Lalita Bhairavi Chaiva Kameshi Bhairavi Tata Raktanetra Bhogini Cha Vishnu Simhasanam Tada Dakshine Samsthidaschaiva Yajet Saubhagya Hedave Shatkuda Bhairavi Nitya Bhairavi Tadanantaram Mrida Sanjeevani Chaiva Mrityunjaya Parathata Vajra Prastarini Chaiva Kubjika Raudrameva Cha Simhasanam Yajet Devi Paschimayam Dishikramat Simhasane Tu Taretu Prayajet Bhuvaneshwarim Kamaleshi Bhairavim Cha Siddha Kaulesha Bhairavim Damarakyam Bhairavim Cha Kamini Bhairavim Tata Kaligam Ishwarakyam Cha Yajet Simhasanam Buddha Bindu Madhye Maheshani Urdhva Simhasanasthidaha Pratama Sundari Chaiva Dvidiya Sundari Tata Tritiya Sundari Chaiva Chadurti Sundari Tata Panjami Sundari Chaiva Mahatripura Sundari Sada Shivakyam Deveshi Yajet Simhasanam Tadaha Vara Bhayakara Raktaf Pashangushakara Shubhaha Simhasanabhyarchanande Panja Kosharchanam Bhavet. The Archana mantra sequence, after adding Om Aim Hrim Shrim in the beginning as per Srividya Sampradaya, and Devataye Nama in the end is Om Aim Hrim Shrim Aim Kleen Sauhu Bala Devataye Nama. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Hasreem Haskalareem Hasrauhu Sampat Prada Bhairavi Devataye Nama. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Shaim Sakala Hrim Shrauhu Chaitanya Bhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Shaim Sakala Hrim Nitya Klinne Madadrave Shrau Dvitiya Chaitanya Bhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Hasaka Prem Hasakala Reem Hasaum Kameshwari Bhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Hasreem Sahreem Shringala Hrim Purva Simhasana Nayika Unmani Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Aghore Aim Ghore Hrim Sarvadha Sharva Sarvebhyo Ghora Ghoratare Shrim Namastestu Rudra Rupebhya Klim Sauhu Aghora Bhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Hasraim Hasakala Hrim Hasrau Mahabhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Hrim Klim Hasraum Lalitha Bhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Klim Kameshwari Bhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Saim Sakalareem Sauhu Rakta Netra Bhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Aim Klinni Kleen Madadrave Hule Hasauhu Dakshina Simhasana Nayika Bhogini Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Dara Laka Sahaim Dara Laka Sahim Dara Laka Sahau Shatkuda Bhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Hasa Kalaradaim Hasa Kalaradim Hasa Kalaradau Nitya Bhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Hrim Hamsa Sanjeevani Jum Hamsa Kuru 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 Sauhu Sauhu Swaha Mrida Sanjeevani Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Vada Vada Vagwadini Hasraim Klinne Kledini Maha Kshobam Kuru Kuru Hasrim Om Moksham Kuru Kuru Hasrauhu Mrityunjaya Para Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Hrim Klinne Aim Krom Nitya Madadrave Hrim Vajra Prastarini Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Aim Hrim Shrim Hasaka Prem Hasauhu Om Namo Bhagavati Hasaka Frame Kubchiga Hasram Hasrum Aghore Ghore Aghoramukhi Shram Shrim Kini Kini Viche Hasauhu Hasaka Frame Shrim Hrim Aim Pashchima Simhasana Nayika Kubchiga Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Hasaim Hasakala Hrim Hasau Bhuvaneshwari Bhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Sahaim Saha Kala Hrim Sahau Kamaleshi Bhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Hasreim Hasrim Hasrau Kauleshi Bhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Hasaim Haklim Hasauhu Damara Bhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Hasaim Hasaklim Hasau Kamini Bhairavi Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Kafrim Maha Chanda Yogeshwari Uttara Simhasana Nayika Kalika Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Haim Hakala Hrim Hasauhu Prathama Sundari Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Aha Saim Aha Sim Aha Sau Dvitiya Sundari Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Aim Hasa E Hasa Ha Sraim Ha 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 Kala Hrim Ha 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 Rauhu Tritiya Sundari Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Kala Ha Ha Sa 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 Hraim Hrim Kala Ha Ha Sa 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 Hrim Hrim Kala Ha Ha Sa 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 Hrauh Hrim Chadurtha Sundari Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Sa Ha Ha Sa Laksha Ha Saim Ha Sa Ha Sa Laksha Ha Sim Ha Sa Laksha Sa Ha Sa Hau Panjama Sundari Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Hau Urdhva Simhasana Nayika Para Prasadamba Devataye Namah. Om Aim Hrim Shrim Panja Vimshadi Simhasana Devata Panjanayika Sahida Srimat-Simhasaneshwari Namah. To summarize, most people are on an outward journey going about with their daily routine of eating, working, and sleeping. The Samhara Krama of inward journey of making the person realize what is true spirituality is either triggered by a guru or the goddess. The guru shows the Shishya how to focus inward to understand their own body, understand the mind, and the Devata within as a dissolution journey inwards. The Samhara goddess can directly teach through some life event like death of someone very near, around whom the life of the person revolves, or the person himself or herself getting some life-threatening disease, which teaches the meaningless nature of daily routines of external orientation. In case of guru or goddess, true spirituality is an inner journey of samhara. The samhara itself is to be envisioned as climbing the 25 stairs up or down based on how you look at it. These 25 stairs being the 25 states where you could skip some stairs or move up or down the stairs. The destination is param of attaining moksha, which involves freedom from the cycle of birth and death. This is reached by the sadhaka either through videha mukti or death by leaving the body, or as Jevan Mukti while still alive. I hope now that the sadhaka listening to this commentary understands that all three sadhanas, Bhakti, Gyana, and Kriya sadhana, takes the Srividya upasaka to the same destination of understanding the Simhasana Vidya from the Srividya perspective of reverse flow or samhara towards Sundari from Bala with the name Srimad-Simhasaneshwari. Savadyam niravadyamastu yadi va kim vanaya chintaya nunam vyakyanamidam padishyadi jano yasyasti bhaktistvai sanchindyapi lagutvamatmani dhridam sanjayamanam hatat twadbhaktya mukhari kridena rachitam yasman mayapi dhruvam. Though I am ignorant, since this interpretation came to me, to my intellect out of devotion to you, even if it is objectionable or non-objectionable, I am sure that your devotees will try to reflect upon it. Om Srimat-Simhasaneshwari Charnarvindam Arpanamastu. In this video, we covered the sadhana focus commentary and teachings of Guru Yugananthanatha, also known as Sri Jitesh of Srividya Tantra Peedom, on the third name Srimad-Simhasaneshwari in lalithasahasranamam. Thank you for watching this video. Om Srimat-Simhasaneshwari Namah.